The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that the nice guys didn't exist. Need an education on how to grow your business? The nice guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Nice guy community, welcome back. Welcome back. How is everybody doing today? We have special guests. It's me, Strickland. It's Doug on the other side of the mic line. On the other side of the mic line. And then we still have special guest, Mr. Sean Carpenter, here with us today.
Hello.
Hey, that's normally how just Strick starts the show. He doesn't give me any forewarning. He's just like, Doug, could you stop surfing the internet for just a moment so that we can actually start the show?
I was going to try and film his famous welcome back, but he does it so quick.
I can do it.
And all of a sudden
there's no warning. I just jump in and do it. But if you wanted to post it on Facebook, we could cheat it and do another one there.
If a welcome back fell in the forest, but nobody was there to hear it, would it actually happen?
That's happened before when we haven't recorded before. Hey, nice guy community, welcome back. You see where you're recording there?
No. See, I wasn't recording.
See, that's the problem. He wasn't recording.
Right,
see, Sean's got his phone up and he's looking at it. Oh, so now it's count. I don't know how to do a countdown. Hey, welcome back. Funkin' fans. How is everybody today?
That's good. I like that. Hi, hey, Sean, you actually have money on the back of your phone.
He won't in a minute. It's okay. I'll take that.
Your phone is actually like a hacky sack, except it has like a hacky sack kind of thing going on there.
It's called a Jimmy case, so you can put your money or your credit cards. It's nice when I go for walks in the morning, and I sometimes keep a $10 bill in there. So if I walk to a Starbucks or grab some food, so it's just a nice little thing to keep. And I always forget there's money in there, and I push it down, and it disappears.
Is that the entire case? Is like that, or is it just an insert that you put on there?
It's a little case that wraps around the phone.
Nice.
And it's got like a little dirty, kind of like a. Yeah, it's like a hacky sack material. It's kind of like elastic, so it holds your credit cards. It's kind of neat.
So, Sean, you're heading back to Columbus, Ohio today after a couple of days here in Maryland, and so what happens now? What's your daily life look like?
Yeah, so I'm actually not heading back to Columbus. I'll actually fly from here to Denver, Colorado. Then I'll get in a rental car and I'll drive 2 hours to Vail, Colorado, where I'll be speaking at the Coldwell Banker Previews event, which is the top agents in the state of Colorado, and specifically Denver, Boulder, Colorado Springs, and doing a keynote presentation for them on Friday. And then I'll fly home. But a day for me, Doug, usually involves I get up and I try and do some meditation. I try and go for a walk if possible, hang out with my family as they go off to school. And then I try and get in the office early.
All this is early?
Yeah, all this is early.
Happened early. Yeah, it's like dark 100 at this point.
At home, right. And then I get in the office and I go through some things that Casey talked about on a previous episode, and I get some work done, and then I reward myself with a little walk across the street to Starbucks, and then I try and do what I talk is my philosophy. I build relationships, I solve problems, and I have fun.
Now you just recently made the transition so go through a little bit of your resume just so everybody in the Nice Guy community kind of understands. You come from a real estate background, you do a lot of training and professional development within real estate, and recently you went back to the sales game in real estate, right?
That's right. Yeah. You talked to my good friend, Sunny Lake. Sunny's a great contributor to the show. And I think one of the times when she was on, she talked to you about, I made the decision after 14 years as the director of agent development with our companies in Columbus and Cincinnati to sort of put myself back into the arena, to put myself back into the sales field, which I was very successful in for 4.5 years as an agent before I became a manager. From the management role, I went into the training role, and I just a little more opportunity for me to work face-to-face, belly-to-belly with customers and clients and do what I really love to do, and that's the sales. But more importantly, Doug, and you and I have talked about this, to have an opportunity to take my speaking on a little more of a national level and talk to real estate audiences as well as corporate audiences and schools and events that now I sort of have my own ability to do that. Before I was sort of kind of kept under my brand. Right. And I couldn't necessarily take any opportunity that came up because I had obligations to my company, which I'm certainly thankful for and appreciate the support of them over the years. But so now I sort of get the chance to kind of be my own company.
So how does it feel, putting out your own umbrella as an agent? So now 100% commission, right? Isn't that the agency game? And putting out that shingle that says I'm going to be a professional speaker. How does that feel like the idea? How does that sit with you?
It's excitedly anxious. I don't know if those two words go together, but I'm excited for the opportunities to be my own boss, to set my own schedule. I'm very anxious about now, paying my own health care, not knowing if their paycheck is going to be around the corner. And my wife and my kids have been very supportive, and they believe in what I do. And my friends and family and my clients and my coworkers, they all believe that I have a big future ahead of me. It's just a matter of the patience of trusting that it's going to work. And so it's been fun, Doug. It really has been a lot of fun. I feel like there's less stress on me now. And I told my last boss this, I said, I feel like the stress is off my shoulders, and not like my last job was stressful. I got to do what I was really good at and what I really liked, but I would lay in bed the night before a class and say, okay, so the class starts at 9. So I got to be there at 8:30, make sure the handouts are ready, make sure the tables are room, and I just want to make sure everything was a great experience for my clients, and my clients being the attendees in my classes or the agents in our company that we were doing presentations for. And I still have that commitment to my customers that hire me to come in and speak to their companies, or my clients that I work with to show houses and list their houses. How are
you going to kind of walk that balancing act? Because there has to be it's not like it's immediate gratification when you find a contract for, when you sign a contract for a client, but that's the game, and you come from that, and you're surrounded by people within the real estate world that can help you with that. Doing this other thing, the speaking thing and the training on that side of things, that's going to be like that far off distant dream, but you need to pay your bills now. So how do you determine where to put your actions?
Well, it's a big challenge, guys. And I've told a lot of people this, for the last 14 years, it's been do as I say. It's been standing in front of a classroom with the credibility of being a successful agent and a respected speaker and people that, has an audience both locally and through the social networks. To now I'm the one that has to pay the piper. And so I've got to do the things I told me to do.
Right.
And it's sort of one of those, some of that stuff is hard. There's, this is as you guys know in sales, it's a no business before it's a yes business. There's way more no's. There's way more rejection. So kind of getting back in the game and feeling that is inspiring. The other challenge I have, and I've talked to our friend Stephanie Sersland, and some other people, a business plan I think is so critical. I think it gives you a roadmap. It gives you a guide. The problem is I have two businesses. I have my real estate business and I have my speaking business. And so do I make one business plan with two parts? Because then I sort of have a plan B that I can always get distracted by. Or do I make two business plans that work together? Do I try and be like a company that has, like Yum brands, right? They have Taco Bell and they have Pizza Hut. Well, they probably have two business plans, but it all operates under one big business plan. So it's a question that maybe we could have brought up at the mastermind session. But I mean, what do you guys think? What do I build one strategy with two components? Do I build two separate strategies and work them up?
In theory, it would be great to just say, hey, keep them separate, because obviously they're two very different things. But, the reality is you can't do that. You're only one guy. And I think if you have a larger company, you have more flexibility to be able to say, hey, we're going to keep these separate and, mix the pots at the end, however we decide we want to. But, I think you got to be practical. You have to mix them together because they are going to affect each other everywhere.
Well, it's one brand. You are a brand, and you're using that to your advantage. I have this DJ business that I've been operating for 30 years. I have the speaking business for the last 4 years. I have the blog and the podcast and the book, and it would be impossible for me to create all of these separate entities and and create divisions in the course of my day. I'm not organized to be able to do that. So I do it all as one big umbrella. And when I start to see an opportunity, I'm like, okay, now which folder is this opportunity going to fit in? Sometimes it fits into two folders.
I think for you, Doug, you change the umbrella theory to more like Doug Sandler, nice guys at the center of the wheel, and you have all these spokes. You have your DJ spoke, and you have your speaking spoke, and you have your book spoke, and you have your podcast spoke, and a couple other things, locally that you're doing with some other opportunities. And maybe I have a 3-spoke wheel right now, and I have speaking, and I have, my outside interests, and I have real estate. But I really think that I'm excited because I think I bring a credibility to my audiences that I'm someone who can stand up in front of the room and say, look, this works because I've done it. And it's one thing. There are some great speakers out there in the real estate industry who have never sold a house. And I respect them. They're good friends of mine, but they've never sold a house. So they're good at technology, or they're good at scripts and dialogues, or they're good at scheduling. But people can look at me and say, so you've sat across the table from a seller who lost her husband of 40 years, and she's never dealt with the finances on the house because he did. And I've been there, and I've been there with a young couple who have written offers on 3 and 4 and 5 houses, and they lose out again and again and again.
It's heartbreaking.
They feel like they're never going to get it. But just like, that experience, I tell my students, real estate is sometimes harder than being a doctor. To learn how to be a real estate agent is harder than being a doctor because doctors get to practice on dead people. if they mess up, the person was dead anyway. But the people we're practicing on are people at open houses and people on the telephones and people that call us. And so sometimes you have to go through that learning curve. So it's been a ton of fun. I think what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to create 2 business plans. But because both of them involve building relationships, solving problems, and having fun, I'll probably divide my week up. And maybe let's say Mondays and Wednesdays I come in and I try and grow my real estate business. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays I come in and I try and grow my speaking opportunities.
I'll tell you the hard part about that. And again, I'm not doubting that knowing you from these last couple of days and getting to know you a lot more from the mastermind group, I think that you actually could do that. The issue that I would run across if we try to create that, I think my dad always used to call it that when you follow as a salesperson your script, that you forget the prospect doesn't ever follow their script. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get calls on Mondays and Wednesdays when you're practicing real estate and the speaking agency that wants to have you talk to their client that day. And there are going to be things that are going to come up. It's great to be able to create all these great divisions between those business entities. For me, it just didn't. Yeah. And then the lines really start to get blurred when there are a couple of projects that are actually, they involve both things. Like somebody would call me for a DJ job and then they start talking to me about, hey, but we see from your website that you're also a professional speaker. Can you share some information about that? Or could you send over a few copies of your books for management? And all of a sudden that easy division between, there's no, it's so easy to tell, this is for my DJ business or this is for my book business or my speaking business. All of a sudden, all those lines get really blurry.
Right. But consolidating, making it a better user experience sometimes isn't a bad thing, right? Walmart used to just sell stuff. And then now they have a grocery store in Walmart and they have pharmacy in Walmart. And at the front, they have a bank and they have a dry cleaner and they've made it where the consumer can get what they want. And I think that's not a bad thing. I think one of the things that we talked about yesterday at the mastermind session is the success is in the schedule and being strong at your schedule and making sure that you control your schedule or someone else does, right? And so doctors, I think, are good examples. They come in the mornings, they do the rounds with their patients in the hospital, they see their patients, and then they take their afternoons for the walk-ins and the paperwork and the business support stuff. And it's just a matter of saying, look, I got to come in the mornings and do this. Leave the afternoons for the appointments and the face-to-faces and not always going to happen because sometimes urgent and important comes right up, right? You can't, the firemen don't plan the times they're going to have a fire, right?
And Doug, Sean's way more organized than either of us anyway. He'll make it work.
Very true. Very true.
I have a better chance of making it work, let's say.
No, I would love you to follow up on that in a couple months and see how it goes. I'm also really curious how, you were a great agent, but you haven't done it in 14 years, right? Yeah. So we talk about it all the time. What worked 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago doesn't work now. It's been very interesting. Obviously, it's not like you got out of the business. You are teaching realtors all the time. So I'm sure over the last 14 years, you've been getting feedback from them. But I'm very curious when you get back into selling again, how you're going to go, you know what? I was teaching X for a long time. And you know what? I didn't realize it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I've found some things with some of the technologies, the digital signatures, some ease that has happened. But there is there's still the frustration of, I forgot when you logged into the system, you have to go through these 3 doors before you can get to where you need. And why don't they still have that more efficient? So there are some things that I'm a big believer that old school still works. The face-to-face, belly-to-belly, the relationship part of our business is so powerful. And you can't teach that. You can't teach nice. You can't teach remembering people's names. You can't teach, the compassion and the empathy. But new school is pretty powerful too. I think using technology, leveraging social, maximizing your time through the ability of mobile devices and things like that, and finding the way to blend both of those, I think is so powerful. If I was going in for surgery, I'd want a doctor who knows how to use lasers. But I also want his bedside manner to be someone who cares about me and talks to my family when I'm under the way they need to be talked to. And so I think we all appreciate that. So
Sean, we're right now and Strick, we're in middle of November and we're heading down to the last 40 days that this year has to offer. And, oftentimes we look back to the year and just say, how are we doing with our goals? And in my particular case, I might say, I didn't even set those goals to begin with. The years that I set goals are the years I can specifically look back and say, yeah, that was the year I wrote my book, or that was the year I came out with my speaking platform, or that was the year that meditation entered my life because I needed to have some of that. This year, not so good from a goal setting perspective. So can we just spend a couple of minutes talking about, okay, there are people like me that are out there. They have not set goals for the first 11 months of the year, but we still got 40 days left in this year. What can we do these last 40 days to get on track so that when 17 comes, we're feeling confident that we're going to be able to go beyond where we were in 16?
Two thoughts come to mind on that one, Doug. One is one of my favorite quotes, specifically targeted to what you just said. The quote says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Right now.
Right? You have a unique opportunity that, having not set any goals, see, setting goals for a year, and most of us do that. We're looking for, people are going to say, next year I'm going to start and be more, diligent with my yoga or my meditation or my depositing my checks or whatever it might be. Doug, you can see the end of the year from where we're at now. You can see 40 days down the road. You can physically see like what the weather's going to be like here in Baltimore and what you and Danielle have to do like around the house. It's hard to say what's going to happen December 31st, 2017.
Right.
So you're actually in a great spot to be able to say, all right, so what are a couple of things? Casey Cornelius gave us a great exercise, to really start saying, here's the long-term vision where I want to be. What's the mission that I have to do to start getting closer? When I was a kid and we used to take trips to Florida, let's say, and my parents would go to AAA, right? The auto club, and they'd get a triptych. And, and as the middle kid, I got to sit on the hump in the back of the station wagon, but I got to hold the triptych. And so you could see where you're going. Yeah. And each page was the next section of the road, and it would mark obstacles and delays and police stops and things like that. And when you got to your destination and you wanted to come home, did you get a new triptych?
I don't remember.
You just used the same one and went backwards.
Right.
Well, isn't a business plan that we're creating almost like each month is a different page? Yeah. And we, the best indication of future behavior is past behavior. So what have we done in the past that we want to either continue or grow or eliminate, right? And so I think this is a great time for you, Doug, to sort of say, all right, 325 days have gone past. What have I done right? What could be done better? So what needs to happen in the next 40 days to get me closer to that opportunity? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look and, I've had a couple transactions. I'll have one more next week. And those have all just happened from referrals. I haven't really done a whole lot of prospecting because I've been blessed to have some speaking gigs, since I went back in August, and that's been great. But really sort of setting the plan so you have that vision and then being able to adapt and adjust on the fly, maybe looking 30 to 40 days out, as a destination. I think a pilot, when I fly to Denver today, they're going to set the course, but every 20 minutes, they're going to check in to make sure they're on the right path. Because if they aren't, that could be problems for a lot of people. I
seem to always be good with the daily task list. I think one of the things that you were talking about in the mastermind group was about your daily activities, those morning activities before you have your coffee, or your reward is your coffee. Yeah. And those daily steps that you take, and whether it's sending out a tweet or whether it's sending out handwritten thank you notes, or even just taking notice about somebody's birthday, or instead of posting on Facebook, maybe sending a personal direct message. Those are the things I find I'm really good at. It's just tying those in to the bigger picture of, well, how exactly does that get me more speaking engagements? How exactly does that, if you're somebody in the Nice Guy community, how does doing those things tie directly into selling more of my product or providing more of my services to the market out there?
I think all of us and anyone in sales needs to maybe take the approach of the Egyptians who built the pyramids. How'd they do it?
One block at a time,
right? One block at a time. And they saw maybe what they wanted to build, but they just were committed to move one rock in place at a time. And I think we all want the pyramid without the work. We all, we want the baby without the 9 months of pregnancy. And I think, but every time we've run the marathon, we feel so much better about it. When I was training for a marathon, there's days that, my calendar says it's time to run 6 miles today. And I didn't feel like running 6 miles until I got to about the 2 mile mark. And then I felt good. And I was proud of myself. And sometimes I'd be like, shit, I can go another 2 miles. And we all have that, whether we're exercising or saving money or doing a diet plan, whatever it might be. And so it's just a matter of, I just got to do one block at a time. And hopefully that block gets me to where I see a little further down the road and having some results, right? I think the whole 30 that you've been kind of experimenting with, Doug, and doing, isn't one of the kind of the rules is you're not supposed to weigh yourself during the 30.
You're not supposed to weigh yourself.
Because they want you to believe that, you know, and then have this big reveal at the end. I mean, the show The Biggest Loser is kind of fun because you get to sort of see these immediate results. But what happens on that show? They lose 10 pounds. They lose 15 pounds. They lose 25 pounds. And then the next week they lose 1 pound. And they say, well, this is bullshit. I worked harder this week, but it's the activity, not the results. Focus on the activity, not the results.
Yeah, you got to reverse engineer it, like doing the triptych backwards. Yeah. You really need to figure out, okay, what is the goal and how am I going to get there? And if your daily activities are focused on that goal, then great. Now, at some point, if you decide, let's say that you have made the decision that, okay, to get to this end goal of however many speaking gigs I need to do this on Twitter and this on Facebook. Well, let's say you do that for a month or 2 or 3 months. Maybe at some point you do need to reevaluate and say, okay, wait a minute. I thought this path would get me there. Is it really getting me there, or do I need to make a correction and change the path?
Well, the other thing that Laura had talked about as a part of the mastermind also, and this really hit home with me, is let's not forget about the journey also. I love enjoying what I'm doing. You know, I love, you know, the end result of the podcast is, hey, can we make any money from this? And, you know, and if we just focus on can we make any money from this, we forget about, we've just had 250 episodes or whatever that number is of amazing relationship building and what it's done for our relationship, Strick, and how it's enabled us to meet guys like Sean and Casey and Laura and Rob and the entire gang that's in our Funk'nFan base, you know, so we all have to enjoy that journey as well. And sometimes I get more caught up in the journey because it's almost like I think to myself, okay, so no matter what my goal is, I'm still going to have this journey along the way. And so I enjoy the journey almost sometimes to a fault where I don't focus on the goals because I'm enjoying the journey so much.
Yeah. You know, shout out to Laura because, you know, her slide, it says, this is it. Don't miss it. Right, you know, and I love that, that idea. And then she kind of left us with, you know, remember more often than you forget. And we just got to kind of keep ourselves honest. You know, the triptych, I love the analogy because think about this. If you know you're on schedule and you can say, boy, we're making good time. And hey, look, just off the road a little bit down the road, there's the big ball of yarn. I've always wanted to see the big ball of yarn. Well, you can do that. And if all of a sudden you end up in Alabama when you're trying to go to Florida, you say, wait, we're off track. And how do I get back on track to get to my destination? And you know, sometimes in life, we decide that halfway there, we don't want to go to Florida anymore. We want to go to Arkansas. We want to go to Texas. And if we have a map in front of us, though, it makes it a lot easier.
On that road trip that I took across the country, on a road trip I took across the country with, not across the country, but, down the Route 127 yard sale. I think it was from Michigan down to Alabama or whatever it was. My wife and I would say a number of times through that passage, we never took a wrong turn. We knew where we were going to go. Eventually we were going to end up there, but we did not stay on that straight path. And we actually had more fun, we thought, because we did make some wrong turns along the way that we discovered weren't wrong turns at all. It put us exactly where we wanted to be.
You know, my favorite memories, graduating from college, my mom and dad said, what do you want for your graduation present? And I said, you know what, Mom, I want to borrow your car and your gas card. And they said, all right. So, and my dad did some work with the National Park Service out in Montana at the time. And so they were gone for the summer. So I graduated and I went back to Columbus and I got in my mom's car one morning and had the Sunoco or the Sohio or the, you know, BP gas card. And I just went west and I stopped at campuses along the way and visited my fraternity house where I was a member at Delta Upsilon. And I would just show up and say, hey guys, I'm a recent grad from University of Florida, just stopping through to see your campus. Want to drink some beers, you know, and can I sleep here? And,
is that beer or beers?
Beer. Yeah, we talked about that. Deer. Yeah, it's beer. And I went, you know, I stopped at Missouri and I stopped at Kansas and Kansas State and Colorado State, Northern Colorado. And it was just so much fun because I had no time frame. I had to be here by then, had to leave here by then, and I spent a couple of days up in Yellowstone and then up to Glacier. Then I cut back across the top of the country.
Those are the national parks, in case you need to know that.
Oh, thanks for the letting me know. I appreciate that.
Yes. And I wrote on the way out, Strickland was here.
Yogi Bear
Strickland was not here.
Didn't even know it. But yeah, so just I think that freedom, you know, Laura talked about that yesterday. And I think a lot of us had the word free or freedom or you know, and so a business plan allows us to do that. And if we do the things on our business plan, it allows us to do even more. Right? I think companies that achieve their goals can set bigger and better goals, or sometimes smaller goals. There's a lot of people in sales who don't want to sell, a house a day. They want to sell 10 and be really active with their kids or their grandkids, or be active in their communities. And that doesn't mean they're less successful. I truly think Doug, if you set a goal to do 100 speaking gigs next year, and I set a goal to do 15, and I do 17 and you do 75, I could argue I'm more successful because I hit my goal. And you fell short, and now some people say, well, that's bullshit. You spoke more and you made more. Well, maybe not, because maybe you did a lot of free gigs at elementary schools. Right. And so it's all perspective of what do I want to accomplish? And so this time of year, I think we all, no matter what we're doing, no matter what we do in our daily job or a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mom, they have things they want to accomplish. They want to get their Christmas lights up, by Thanksgiving weekend. They want to have the shopping done. Well, start putting it on paper. Who used the word yesterday? Was it you, Doug? Accountability, right? Sharing with somebody equals accountability.
And that's why I had said to you, I want to do this same morning program that you do, because I know that if I'm accountable to you, you're a very disciplined guy, much more so that I feel like than I am. And to trail that, I know leads down the path to success.
Yeah. And then if I have success and share with you, then it makes you, all right, so maybe my success is coming.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. So Nice Guy community, if you don't have a goal, if you don't have a finish line, it's tough to get there. You may not know where you're going. We are towards the end of the year and towards the end of the episode. And I definitely would recommend to any of you all out there who have any goals, if you are working for yourself, if you're working for somebody else, whatever it may be, think about what do you really want? And it's not necessarily just, I want to make more money. I want to raise. Really big picture, long term. What do you want? How can you get there? Great time of the year to evaluate. Okay, what have I done? What do I really want? What have I done this year to get there? And what have those things done to help me get there? So do I want to do the same things next year? Do I need to do different things next year? Or do I really want to have a different goal next year? So with that big philosophical question
Hold on one
hanging
second.
in the air.
I think that Brian Carson would be pissed because right now I believe that they have Valentine's Day cards are now available. So we haven't even gotten to the point of the year. Christmas is coming. All right. Sorry, Strick. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
I think we are right at the end of the episode here. Nice Guy community, thank you so much. Please never underestimate the power of nice. And Steve O'Brien, take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. They have listeners in other countries? I didn't think anyone was listening outside of their house. Except maybe their moms.